To another episode of In the Nude. Today I want to talk about living with truth. Living with the truth. Let me preface what I mean by that. Do you find yourself learning the same lessons over and over and over again? Hitting your head against the same wall and find yourself frustrated at yourself for having learned the same lessons? If not, I do. So maybe I'm just talking to myself here, but if you find yourself, this is to do with that process. We can sit there and we can be irritated with ourselves about having to hit our head against the wall. But the nugget, the real of it is we have to live with the truth. We have to live in it. It's kind of like, okay, so say for example, you learn how to cook some food, right? Let's say you learn how to make eggs. And you're making eggs every day, and you get really good at making eggs because you're making eggs every day, right? And then you decide, I'm no longer eating eggs, and you don't eat eggs for a really long time. And then one day you decide to make eggs again, but then they turn out really bad, a little too overcooked, you got distracted, you didn't rotate them enough or whatever. In order to live in the truth of how to make eggs, you've got to leave yourself grace and space to kind of readjust and relearn it a little bit. You don't have to think about driving, right? Because you did when you learned how to do it, but then you're doing it every day and you're living in it. We need to come to the table with that kind of thought process, that understanding, that visual seeing of that truth. You can't have learned it and then pass it by. We have this viewpoint, our life is getting to this plateau, this achievement, this flat mark, but it isn't. Look at life. Look at how things work. Okay. A great example of this is the ocean, most water in general, but the ocean's a really easy one, right? Okay. That water never stays still. It's beautiful, it's magical, it's powerful, it's all these different things, but it doesn't stay still. It is constantly shifting and constantly moving. And we find it beautiful. We find it even peaceful how it constantly is this known of moving and this calming sounds and sensations. If you look at the wind and how it makes things move, or if you look at water, all of it, it's always moving and flowing, and if it stops, it gets stale. It starts to let things decay. Things go wrong when it's not moving and adjusting. In that same way, our life, as much as we have this viewpoint of arriving and getting to this plateau, it is at the plateau that it's not where we want to be. Flat, non-moving, it's not actually where we want to be. We have this lie that we've been told that that's how it works. But what really works is it's kind of like balance, right? If you're standing on something and trying like a bocce ball, or however you say that word, you're constantly having to do these core adjustments, tiny shifts to try to stay balanced. And you're kind of staying in the middle, but you're never actually fully not moving. That's what it looks like to live in the truth. You don't get to just learn it and move on. You don't learn addition and basic math facts and move on. You build in it. You live in it. You apply it. That same thing is true with each of these lessons you're learning about uncoiling your life from the past to how you want to show up and cope now. It's living in those truths. You keep finding yourself, viewing yourself as unworthy because you held on to that truth because of other people's actions that told you and that you interpreted that you were unworthy. You keep going back to that and you're having to relearn, I'm worthy just for existing. I don't have to achieve I can't gain it. It just is, right? Or you're relearning over and over not to constantly subjugate and push away your feelings for another person's. And you keep having to relearn it instead of being feel free, have your feelings. I'm not telling you not to have your feelings, but how we interpret that thing, how we decide to view our life, view this situation, view and say a truth about it, it adjusts our experience. How we view it, how we decide to tell a truth changes our experience. If we come to the table and we're like, man, that's frustrating, I hate that I'm so stupid, we have that narrative. If we come to the table of, no wonder, we're just learning this truth in a different way, in a different facet. We're making sure it isn't just up here that we understand it, but it's really coming a part of our body. The world is, and the universe is testing and making sure and fortifying us so that it becomes second nature. So it becomes like when you're driving and you can talk on the phone, or you can mess with the radio and you can do all these other things and think about other problems. while you're driving. We're allowing this truth to become a part of us and metabolize it and become living in it. We've second nature. That's why we keep getting tested. That's why we keep hitting this wall. We need the same truths over and over, because how we learn is through repetition. How we learn is through muscle memory. That's what we're building right now. It can be so frustrating, and that's okay, but we can also change our view on it. And we can change it to the idea of, we are learning how to live in this truth. We're learning how to reside and like get gunky in it, like just make a little nest in this truth. We're learning how to make it so it's just a part of us, how we flow and move without even thinking. You don't have to think about breathing. You just breathe. That's the way that our body is trying to take in this truth. And that's why we keep having to learn it over and over and over again, because we lived so long the other way that our body is needing this repetition, this coiling again of this new truth, so that it can become this second nature, so that it become this just ease and like natural flow. It's going to take this living in it. Most of our life isn't a one and done. Anybody who's cleaned a bathroom and been frustrated at somebody using the restroom understands completely that it's never one and done. If you've done dishes, it's never completely one and done. It's this cycle of constantly being on top of things, and we can use that as a positive. We can view it, if we choose it, as a positive. Sure, we can be frustrated that somebody's using the bathroom because we just cleaned the bathroom, but we can also view it as, I love the fact I was able to provide a clean bathroom for its functional use. I love that I had the time and capability to be able to clean that so we can do the function we have to do in a clean environment. I am so elated that I have the ability to wash my dishes and have dishes and eat off of them and clean them or reuse them. This is a part of the cycle. In that same way, as we learn, we can view it as a part of the cycle. We get to decide. I've lived for a really long part of my life being just frustrated at having to relearn the lesson, being mad at myself for being so stupid. I've done that. I've whipped myself. I've degraded myself. I've said shoulds. I've said woulds. I've blamed myself, blamed others. I've done that path. I've had that view. I've kept that perspective, and it didn't do anything for me. Or actually it did. It kept me handcuffed. It kept me stuck. It kept me in a box. That viewpoint didn't enlighten me. That viewpoint didn't give me a different way. That viewpoint just had me keep cycling with no adjustments. That viewpoint didn't give me a different perspective. It didn't give me peace. It didn't give me understanding. It didn't give me compassion. It didn't give me anything but agitation and justification or denigration. None of which gets me towards that life of thrive. So I chose different. I kept choosing that default. I kept choosing that frustration. And I chose a different perspective. I chose not the default. And it's not an easy shift. And it's not a one-time shift. It's I butt my head against the, oh, you're learning that lesson again. Huh. No, we're living in the truth. Thank you that I get another chance to make it really a part of my person. Thank you for this opportunity that I get to make it really second nature. I'm learning it again so that I can continuously have it with me and on me, so I don't forget, so I don't default, so I don't go back to that life, so I don't go back to being that person. There's a beauty with living in the truth. There's a beauty with choosing our perspective. There's a beauty to it. It doesn't have to be arduous. It doesn't have to be strife. It doesn't have to be all of this effort and work. But we have to choose the work of our perspective. We have to choose to view the work as a part of the pretty. We have to choose whether we're going to choose the work now or choose the work later. For a large portion of my life, I didn't choose the work now. I always thought of myself as that person who chose the work now. And I did for work. I did for a paycheck. I did for other people, but not for me. I waited until that dumpster was not only on fire, but it was burning to the ground. And I still struggle with doing that, I'll be honest. I could show up and I could make sure that somebody else did it because their opinion of me made me feel like I equated to have more worth. But in that focus on somebody else getting their thing ready and focused on work and getting that thing achieved and paycheck, I was actually continuously proving I was unworthy. because I kept ignoring it and I kept not doing the work up front for me. As a result of that, I have a lot of health problems because I kept saying, I'm not important, ignore yourself, push that feeling away. I'm not anymore. I choose to do the work now because I've lived with not doing the work up front and how my life fell apart, how my body fell apart. We have the work either way. It's the same amount. Let's choose to do the work up front for ourselves, to show up and love ourselves and be the first people to do that for us. And let's choose to find the joy in it because it's our life to live. It's our life to live and we get to choose. Are we going to sit there and feel like we are just like mining away in this dead, horrible situation? Or are we going to choose to find the fun, find the joy, find the frivolity, find the silly, find the beautiful, find all of it while we're having it in the moment? It's not easily said, but it can be done. And it can become that second nature with living in that truth if we choose to do it. Something that helped me live in that truth, something that helped me choose to change my perspective, is something silly. I found so much of my time hating on myself. Focusing on, like, say, 10 things to do, I focused on the 3 I hadn't done when I'd done 7. It's called gap theory. You focus on what you haven't done, focus on what isn't there. And when you do that, you just get more of what isn't there. And I realized that that's so frustrating and I wanted something different. And so I had to show up differently. One of the things that I did was I started, instead of focusing on the gap, at the end of every day, I would focus on and write down some wins I had. They could be really silly and stupid. I brushed my teeth. I remembered to brush my teeth. I didn't even know I didn't want to. I put on my workout shoes. I didn't work out, but I put my workout shoes on. I went to the restroom before it was an emergency. That's actually a huge one for me because I have a really hard time listening to my body, right? It's really important and I'm working on it and focusing on it, but it's becoming much more natural for me to go to the restroom before it's an emergency. That's huge. That may not be huge for you, but it is for me. I write down the wins. I think them through and I relive them. And I put my focus there. When I find myself frustrated, I allow myself to have the feeling. I sit with it and be like, you know what, that's reasonable. But the end of that, at the end of having had that feeling and sitting with myself, I'll sit there and I'll think about the alternative perspective, the other view of it. It's so frustrating that I had more dishes to do. I have dishes to do. I have kids, wonderful, healthy, beautiful, fantastic kids that made those dishes dirty that I get to be around. There's always another perspective, and it is not about making everything pretty. It's about deciding what type of view you want to have in the world. And for me, choosing to stop and enjoy the tiny things. Watching the leaves dance in the wind. Watching the call of a bird and the frivolity of it playing around with another bird. Watching my kids be silly and dance in the rain. Whatever, like tiny things. And shifting to focusing on the beauty of those tiny things. Shifting my focus on how I view it. Shifting my focus and how I embrace the hard steps being so beautiful too. Shifting in how I am able to take what I've learned, and I love the passion and joy that I have in trying to help other people. That fills me. That gives me joy. I wouldn't have this to offer if I hadn't lived it. That's beautiful. I shifted my focus, and those tiny things of making a list of things you're grateful for, making a list of things that you had a positive. I snapped at my kids, but I took a deep breath first. That's a win. I took a deep breath, right? Writing down things that you want to be true, if you can believe it, right? Shifting the narrative and choosing, I don't know how to believe this yet, but I'm going to say it. I am worthy. I don't feel it, but I am worthy. And I'm going to do things that make me feel worthy. Showing up and acting the part for yourself. Choosing the truth in your head, selecting it and holding on to it instead of the truths that we have been holding on that aren't actually true. Just because someone treated you like you weren't worthy doesn't make you not worthy. We've held on to that truth and it didn't do anything for us. We get to choose. I hold on to I am worthy. I hold on to this is a beautiful adventure. I'm going to stop and notice the parts. You get to choose your adventure, but I challenge you. I've made the shift. I find so much joy every day in tiny things. I still get irritated. I still snap. I am still imperfect. But I like my day to day, and it shifted with my ability to start noticing wins, my ability to start noticing things I loved in my world right now where it is. You can have it too. It's going to take work. It's going to take you having to remind yourself of that perspective. It's going to take us living in the truth for it to go from being up here to being in here and our body metabolized.